packed, intense month. First, you've got my wife's birthday at the beginning of February. Then comes Valentine's Day. That's the 14th, I believe. And right after Valentine's Day, you've got my son's birthday. So you got 3 big whammies there coming in there. And so I think we've done all the big February things. Next month, March, is going to be my youngest, as they say. I sound like my father, my youngest. It's going to be her birthday. She's going to be 5, which is half of 10.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, more importantly, before we get to that, how did you do with I also run a similar wife. It's the opposite. It's Valentine's Day followed almost immediately by my wife's birthday. So I just ask you, as someone who's already done the gauntlet, did you do okay? Were your gifts appropriate? Was enough effort paid? And
did the dog get your chocolate?
I mean, more importantly, if we were to give you a performance review, did you get meat? Let's just be honest. Exceeding expectations is off the table. I think, Cote, for you. Did we get meat? I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to just be honest. We went over the budget this year. We only have a couple ones to give out. I'm sorry I couldn't do it for you this year, but I can give you a meets expectations. Is that going to be satisfactory?
I think given macroeconomic tailwinds, I've more than met expectations. Maybe not exceeded, but somewhere between met and exceeded, which I think it might be met and didn't go to bed early.
Is that like getting a participation ribbon?
Yeah, it's sort of like that's
not the goal. I mean, I'm not going to be your marriage counselor here, but that's not a good goal.
It's a strong B+. I think.
Okay.
What we pulled
Much
off.
better.
Well, congratulations. Hey, strong B+. I mean, at this point,
B+ is solid, right?
I mean, it's solid.
C's get degrees and B's. That's even better.
It occurs to me that this isn't what I was going to ask, so I'll get around to that. But the A, B, C, D, F, there's no E, really, is there?
No,
you never get an E.
E's for excellent.
I wonder what I got to look that up in Wikipedia, or I'll ask one of the AIs about it. But it seems like, how us Fahrenheit people are always complaining to the centigrade people, or it's whatever, Celsius people. We're always, there's that whole stand-up bit where
metric, the old,
where the British guy, or I think he's British, and he lives in the States, and he's like, I realized Celsius is crazy because the difference between in summer or winter, the difference between 80 degrees and 79 degrees is you're either warm or freezing your ass off, right? And then so you can imagine with Celsius, where you've got 2.5 degrees or sort of play with, it's just nonsense. It doesn't make any sense, which that's more or less been my experience. But I think the letter grade system is kind of like that, where if you've just got A, B, and C, you're dealing with Celsius. And so it's a very Fahrenheit move to put the plus, the minus, and I guess what's the middle one? Is that 0? Is there I'm not a math person, but is there a symbol other than plus or minus? Does 0 would you call this a valence? What is that? What is a plus and a minus? That's also have to ask the AI that. There must be a phrase for that kind of thing. But my real question was, having gone through that, luckily for my wife's birthday, we had sparklers, but we didn't have any candles, right? So sparklers, always a good backup. For some reason, I think this says a lot about Kim's upbringing. We always have sparklers in the house. There's endless sparklers. But
that sounds fun.
Is this something that in your households, do you always have birthday candles on hand? Is this something that if you run out, it's on the Costco list and you bring them back, or what's the status with birthday candles, especially as the children get older? Do you kind of fall that off, or is it even more important? You focus on just big helium tanks? What's in my future?
Well, to be completely honest, Coach, not my department. I'd have to check with a different division to see if we have it, but we probably have a few laying around. But it has become less important as my son is aged.
I see.
It's not immediately needed. Whereas, little kids, you kind of just need that stuff on hand all the time. Oh, we gotta have some candles, some sparklers. You just never know when you need a spontaneous, because it's always somebody, or it could be somebody's birthday, a friend's birthday. It's that's a big deal there. But as they get as they enter the teens, I feel like they just don't really want to talk to you that much anyway, so you don't need to worry about the candles.
Well, that's see, Brandon, you've only got one kid, so you don't know. when you've got kids, you have to keep doing it
Mhm.
because the others will appreciate you tormenting them.
Oh, okay.
See,
Yes.
there's this whole extra
I
level
see.
of parenting that's meta parenting that involves teaming up against your children with your children.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I have to say this is a level I've not unlocked. In fact, I will never unlock it. So
Exactly.
I congratulate both of you on achieving.
Yes. So when everyone can be embarrassed by their parents, including the parents, yes, that's
Then
a
you
win.
won. Nice. Well said. Well done.
Wow, we're really going to spice up February as the years go on. It's going to be even more fantastic. Well, speaking of spicing things up, speaking of unspicing them up, coincidentally, I was thinking of a topic. I think that kind of has been, I wouldn't say resurrected, but like it could be remembered, and that is, over the past year, all sorts of wacky open source stuff going on. And I think I was just remembering recently that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out and even typing up and we talked on here about like Red Hat's I don't even really remember it. Like whatever changes they did to some sort of Linux thing with binaries and
it's so last year. It's memory.
yeah,
hole.
Rockies and Almera. Almera was that Bitcoin place, not or whatever. But whatever, like all these things. And it was a big to do at the moment, at that moment. And like, well, you might know Matt Ray. Like, does anyone care anymore?
They do. It's
But are they like
still,
tired or they still
well,
like what's
everyone's
going
tired.
on?
Everyone's always tired. But I mean the drama is tiring, but people definitely still have feelings about running enterprise Linux. They have feelings about having to deploy something different in production after having the status quo taken from them. So yeah, their definitely feelings are perpetually being hurt.
They're,
All right.
they're
Well, more importantly
tired
than
and
that,
accepting.
this is what I'm not. I think that part we kind of get. There's sort of the perpetual unhappiness, hurt feelings about Red Hat. But this new thing came out this week, and I thought you were the perfect person to comment on it. So this, what is it? CIQ? Is it how you say it? No. So they are, as I read it. So this is just like, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to repeat the facts. If I get the facts wrong, tell me wrong. Basically, they are going to provide long-term support to Rocky Linux, which is a separate foundation, even though there's a lot of close contact there, and that they'll be charging for it. So on the face of it, at least this one very long rant was written about it, was like, well, aren't they, I think the way it was kind of positioned, aren't they doing the same thing as Red Hat? And if so, are people mad about that? So can you shed any light on that, Matt?
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. So they have offered
Podcast done.
Yeah, podcast done. Well, it's been fun. On to the recommendations. Any bureaucracy? No, seriously. They so Rocky Linux is one of the main two kind of CentOS forks that are striving on, and what CIQ has said they're going to do is offer commercially supported versions of Rocky Linux, and my understanding is they won't publish non-commercially supported versions of Rocky Linux. And so you're kind of like, well, wait, what am I? Before I didn't have to pay for CentOS, and now you're saying that if I go to the AWS Marketplace to get myself an instance type, and I see Red Hat for let's say 20 cents an hour, and I see Ubuntu for 10 cents an hour, with essentially no upcharge. There's Rocky at 14 cents for some reason, and why are they charging a premium? It's because they can. So they're essentially like, well, we're just a cheaper version of Red Hat now.
Right.
They're still maintaining the downstream support for making Rocky, but my reading of this is that there will either either they will only commercially support LTS, and so if you want an LTS Rocky, you have to get it from them, or they're gonna drop LTS Rocky after 18 months, which makes it not LTS.
Okay, so Matt, let's just cut to the chase. You need to tell Cote and I, like, do we need to be angry about this? Like this, so I was just be clear about it.
Wait. We are all cloud native. We are all
Gordon,
living.
I just want to give credit to the rant here. I believe it's pronounced Gordon Messmer. So if I got that wrong, he's the one.
That guy had some rants. Yeah, that's a good rant.
He has. This is where I originally saw it. Someone posted this, so I saw it. So, so I encourage everyone to read it. It's as it says here in Medium. It's 4 minutes, and it's 4 minutes of just basically ranting, which is good. I like it. But he basically is like, well, is everyone going to be upset because like they were mad at Red Hat? And I'm like, I was kind of read this. I was like, I see where you're coming from. You're making a logical argument. For whatever reason, I am totally not upset by this. So I don't know. I need someone to like, if we need to marshal some unhappiness, I need someone to tell me.
Looking at this, it's still early days in the post-CentOS landscape. I would probably just mosey on over to Alma Linux and call it a day. Right? I wouldn't get upset.
You just move again. You're just like, well, I didn't even have time to get to know you, Rocky Linux.
I'm friends with I know some folks over at Alma. That's where I would have gone anyway.
I think you summed it well. Everyone is always tired. It's just like, all this.
A great nugget there. Maybe
open source.
I don't know. Is this too controversial to take? It's like, I think what people maybe really want is they don't actually want just the open source Linux. They want a really cheap LTS Linux, right? Like, is this just solved by like price? Is that really what we've been talking about this whole time? It's like, if you just make it cheap enough, it's like, fine, we'll pay you that. And if you can build a business around that cost model, it feels like everyone could be happy with that world. Is that what we should be getting to?
I think Rocky's still playing fine by the community. I mean, they're not saying you can't use this. They're not saying you can only use this with a license. They're just saying the channels that you would probably get this are going to be limited to commercial alternatives. But if you just want to go and grab Rocky, you can grab it, deploy it on 1 billion computers, and they're not going to complain. Red Hat would. Red Hat changed CentOS, so you can't do that. And that was what made people upset is me in my home lab. I can't deploy Red Hat without a license, or I can't deploy CentOS, which is what I'd been doing forever. I can't put CentOS on 10,000 machines without calling up Red Hat anymore. And that's what the objection was. My reading of this is I can still do that with Rocky, but if I were to deploy it on 10,000 machines on AWS, I have to use the commercial version.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
I can roll my own, I guess. But it's not that big a deal.
Let's give everyone some homework. Please join the Software Defined Talks Slack, and if we need to be angry about this, please let us know. Because right now I'm just the thing. I just don't have it.
Go to the rant. The thing that does kind of make me a little suspicious was the rant about the guy writing about Red Hat not working for Red Hat. That was the thing that I was a little like, you need to do a better job disclosing, your conflicts of interest.
Oh, right, because then he also calls out that the reporter as doing PR for not sick, kick, whatever.
CIQ. I don't know.
CIQ, yeah. Which that was just like, oh man. Yeah. Too bad about this. The third estate there. Give those guys a break.
Third estate's got to make money too, man.
They're charging less than 14 cents an hour.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, listen. In the next edition of This Week, Do We Need to Be Angry? I need you to tell me what's going on with this Nginx fork. Right. So it looks like on a
wait. Is this a new segment?
I guess
I think so.
We need to be angry.
There's so many. I didn't have time. I don't have the anger on any of these subjects, but I want to be with the people if this is what we need to be angry about.
Yep.
So Nginx, I didn't follow this one as closely. Just a quick history is F5 bought Nginx like way back several years ago. As far as I know, things have been fine. But then someone posted that I think one of the people that work on it a lot, they're based in Moscow. They had to kind of, not work for F5. We won't get into all that political stuff, but they come to some agreement that he could still work on it. But then they made some decision. He did not like it. But he also acknowledged that their F5s, can do what they want to do. But he is, I don't know, at least has a website up. I don't want to say for it, but he has a website up for free.
He's got a website and the release.
Yeah, free
Nginx and the first release.
So this is another one. Like, I don't know. Are you like, and you, I think you did mention, Matt, you were kind of keeping an eye on this. Like, do we need to be angry about this one?
Well, you need to pay attention to it because Nginx is what was that site that used to track popularity
Yeah.
of web
The
servers?
answer is like everyone uses Nginx. That's what
Pretty much, yeah. Nginx passed Apache, I don't know, at least 10 years ago, and I would hazard to guess it's more than 50% of the web. I could be wrong, but whatever. It's probably a majority, and the issue is that the parent company for Nginx is F5, and my understanding is some of their security disclosures and the way that they've been going about fixing vulnerabilities is they put it in the commercial product and it just kind of sits there for a while without reporting it upstream to the Nginx, open source. And so, there are potential vulnerabilities, and I didn't want to, I mean, there's a lot of politics going on around, this Russian developer and Ukraine and all sorts of other stuff. It's like, are there potentially people pressuring the is F5 American and they own a Russian company?
No,
and,
go on.
And like, would there be people interested in keeping Nginx vulnerable? I don't know, right? So I'm in favor of paying attention because I worry about the security implications. Just because when it comes to something that is bedrock to the internet, you kind of got to worry about the state of vulnerabilities, and that's why you should care. That's why you should care. I don't know if free Nginx is the right answer. There are a lot of other alternatives out there. Maybe variety's the spice of life, but Apache's still kicking. Caddy, there's other choices, but Nginx is definitely everywhere.
All right, a little real-time feedback. I think the site you were referring to was netcraft.com, and the current stats are Nginx leads the way at 27%, Apache 21%, Cloudflare 9%, the always popular others 22%. And for those wondering at home how much Sun's still being used, it gets 0%. It gets a 0%. So there you go.
Pour one out for Sun.
Yeah, those sad.
How about what was the Microsoft one? IIS or something?
Microsoft is on here with 3%. So those sites are probably, no offense to Microsoft, those sites probably have a lot of spyware on them. That would be my guess. Looking at it,
well, like, so yes,
pretty bad.
25% or whatever you said is a healthy chunk of the internet, and
it's a lot.
I know that it's a lot of really big sites too. So
this one open.
That's just the tracked internet. What about the murky internet?
Open what?
Open Resty. Have you heard of this one? That's 8%. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I think that is another fork of Nginx. Maybe, I don't know, but that one's been around for a while.
Okay. Well, again, same work, everyone. Please join the Software Defined Talk Slack. Do we need to be upset about that one? And then the final one in this week's, maybe we have two more. We'll depend. As MariaDB, it looks like MariaDB could be taken private for $37 million. I don't know. I've lost track of this too. Like, are they in trouble? Like, didn't the founder leave? Like, it was going to be?
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah, it was going to be the alternative to MySQL, but then there was
they have been for a long time, right? So MySQL got purchased by Sun, and then immediately Sun got purchased by Oracle, and there was a fleeing of MySQL people from Oracle, and Monty Wadenis,
right? He started
MariaDB. He started MariaDB, and he was kind of like the core guy. And they've been around for what is that, 20 years? Forever. Yeah, 20, forever in internet time. And so maybe it's not 20 years, 15 years, but whatever. The point is, Maria, I guess they overextended themselves with some of their ambitions about hosting databases as a service and subscriptions and whatever. They're in financial straits.
Okay. All right. For the 10, so just to dot the I's on this. So it was 15 years ago, and they raised roughly $230 million in venture funding. So yeah, I guess maybe things aren't going so well. So I don't know. I guess we don't really need to be mad at that one. It's just, it's just kind of is what it is. And I feel like maybe we should end on like a positive note. I was going to say tofu, open tofu. Seems like it's doing well, right? Like, is that like a good, I feel like everybody that was unhappy is working on tofu. And I don't know, is there any controversy on that one that we should know about?
Only if you work at HashiCorp.
Yeah, that's
Did they? How about,
we don't need to be angry. Maybe they need to be angry.
Whatever happened to that automation thing Apple just like released out of the blue, like several weeks ago? Do you even know about that? You two, did you hear that?
I don't think so. What is this? Tell me.
They announced something at Config Management Camp, right?
I don't think Apple was actually there. I don't actually remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure not. But it was.
The memory hole is 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a fun flash in the pan then, I guess. But yeah, I think I'm thinking, I'm interested in the old how a notion like enshittification happens in the enterprise infrastructure space. But I don't think this is an instance of it, but I feel like we might be. I don't know if we've been in this phase, if this has existed, but I think there might be a permanence. It's not bundling and unbundling, but it's like opening and closing of various open source projects and communities. I think there's probably a cycle that we go through here. And it might be, I feel like it's based on how close or far you are from IPOing or being acquired. Like basically, like once it's required that you keep making money, I think it gets closed. What's the word for that? It gets contracted and more contracted.
Well, that's exactly what happened with Maria, right?
But when you're going up the hill of valuation, it almost is getting opener and opener for that growth, right? And then at some point, I don't know, when the growth decreases, but you need to make more money, you close and close and close. I don't know. I don't have the specifics worked out well, but I feel like this probably is just in the future is a well-known cycle for all open source stuff. So congratulations to the open source world, which I think will also, it'll encounter that thing I'm always like kind of naively saying is like, I don't know, maybe they should just be happy being 20 million in revenue for the rest of their lives.
Well, that's the problem with being a public company.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like, there's probably a lot of open source companies that could just stay private and just be happy doing that. But
I mean, I guess that's what's going to happen to Maria probably is they're going to take one of these acquisitions, they'll take them off the stock market, and then they'll go back to being a quote unquote healthy open source company without the pressures of having to grow.
Yeah. One hopes so.
Yeah.
I wonder, are there specialists in like open source PE value realization? How are those progress people doing? Are they specializing in that?
They have no expertise in open source.
Yeah, I can't think of like a PE or pseudo PE firm or company that has like squeezed the juice out of open source, so to speak, or revitalize it.
Most of them I think when they get involved, they sort of just take whatever's left as far as what's being charged for the commercial open source of the support, and then they just for the most part ignore the open source side of it. So it's like that's sort of the play, right? Is they just sort of like we'll just get on this thing, that's it.
Which is more or less what you do if it's proprietary or closed source. You just sort of like steady. You keep it on the ventilator.
And then you just kind of tell the open source like, if it's out there, do what you want, but we're not spending one moment on that. That's it.
Yeah. The LTS like let thou support it. That's
wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Well, speaking of people squeezing the juice, I think this is a good episode where we're checking in on things. So someone, I don't read the information in full access, but someone over there pointed out that there doesn't seem to be a new board at the OpenAI place over there, which I think was that was going to be reset up. So it seems like all of that time was spent in November. Yet again, I think this is a very instructive episode for people who pay too close attention to tech news. There was all this running around, crazy things happening, and did anything really happen? Seems okay. Now there's $7 trillion being looked for. That seems like irresponsible journalism. That there's probably something not correct in that headline.
Right,
that
but that's
seems
what
a little wacky.
I think that's the part I think is kind of interesting. So the quick recap, right? There was the Thanksgiving craziness. Sam Altman was kicked off, brought back. We all know about that. Many of episodes you can go back and listen to if you want to hear all that stuff. But then Sam Altman has come out. So he is raising some kind of fund, right? And I think the part that was interesting in the information is like he is like ahead of like the essentially the OpenAI venture fund, and it is just in his name, right? It's just his name, and basically the money is just under him. And it's like, I just think, it's like, I think as we talked about, as we kind of recapped that whole thing, I said something like, this is the end of episode 1. And I feel like this is the opening of like episode 2, like the sequel. It's like, wait a minute, maybe the person we thought was the good guy is actually the bad guy.
Wait.
Maybe
I never thought any of them were good.
Maybe in the first movie, the people that we thought were doing the wrong thing maybe actually had some ideas. And it does seem like between the ability to raise a $7 trillion, I mean, I heard this idea. It was like absurdist capitalism. And I was like, that was a good phrase for that. Like, I don't even know. Like you say 7 trillion. I don't even know what's above a trillion. Like, why not just make it, a gazillion? I don't even know what it means at that point. But then the part that I thought was interesting that he has already set himself up to like run this whole thing. And OpenAI has come out and said, yeah, we just were in a hurry and it makes more sense for him to do it this way. And it's like, wait a minute. I just finished my, my annual security and compliance training. And I'm pretty sure this is not allowed. Like I just did the whole, code of conduct. I'm like pretty sure most code of conducts would be like, I don't know, Brandon, I don't think you can run the $50 million or $50 billion hedge fund on the side while working here. I think that would be a conflict of interest. So the whole thing just seems funny to me. And it does set up to like more to come. There definitely is going to be more to come. And then finally, as information points out, there is really no changes to the board of directors, which in itself is also funny.
Well, I hope. I mean, if they're not doing that training, I hope they are neither giving nor receiving gifts of $50 in value or more, depending on local government regulations. Definitely, and definitely no paying for travel or dinner over $25 or euros for government employees.
Okay, do you have those moments though when you're taking it and you're like reviewing those things, and it's like, yeah, a gift is this $50, and then you're like, you answer all those questions. Even sometimes like you get some of them wrong. You're like, I don't know, that seems fine. Like, no, you can't do that. And then later in the day, I feel like I read this stuff and I feel like it's like a parallel world. It's like, how could someone run the whole hedge fund at a company when like, just what you said is so true. It's like, hey, $50. And especially if they're related to you or them, and then that's 0, right? It's like, anything you do is wrong. And it's, I don't know, it feels it feels very weird. Like, I don't know why. Like, at what level does code of conduct? You're like, oh, you can just do whatever you want. There's like some, I guess, the CEO level.
Well, especially for like hedge funds and the like, where you have to have some of your own capital invested in the fund. You're like, this is my money.
Yeah. There was one place I worked, and you know that I read the travel policy just once a month, just for fun, and the travel it was pretty funny. Well, of course it was funny because I'm about to talk about it and I remember it, but like it was just a standard corporate travel policy, and it said, and again, this is a travel policy that applied to all these people that not everyone would read, and it said you cannot use your personal planes for business travel except if you're the CEO and chairman. And it was just like, oh, that's weird. I mean, and it makes sense, right? Like,
sure.
On the other hand, like if I had like a little Cessna or something, and I'm like, I don't know, I got to go give some like executive dinner in Salt Lake City, like, wouldn't they be happy with me paying for it? Like, instead of them doing for it, but I guess not. They're like, nope, you gotta book a flight unless you become the chairman or chairperson, I should say. Can't do that. But yeah, it is like, I mean, what is there interesting to say about the compliance stuff? I mean, I feel like it's so someone posted this. They must have been doing their taxes, and they posted this in the Slack channel. I mean, it's the equivalent of like, when you're filling out your taxes, it's like, did you make any illegal income that you want to report? And it's like, yes, I would love to tell you about all the illegal income that I made.
Yes,
right? It's just, I mean, I guess every day someone like comes into a corporate job and they want to buy someone a $55 gift that might be a customer, and they don't realize this, but it's also just like, that's an amazing sort of like failure in just like moral and ethics that you've got to go over. Like, if you're going to hire your cousin to help you write press releases, maybe don't do that. Right. Just it's like, I think it's pretty straightforward. That should, what they should probably do is just have that be part of the interview process and be like, now we're going to give you the ethics screening. And if you pass this, then you can go on to the next layer. And the first thing they'll say is, if you and I were related, should I be giving you this screening? And if you can pass that, you're done.
You're fine.
You definitely do that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that stuff's all ridiculous. But I think, and the worst about those, to go on about it a little bit, is like, I mean, we all know this. You the first time you take these, or if they change around to a new thing, you've got to assess, is it actually going to let me just fast forward the video? Can I do that? Or do I actually have to watch it? So that's important. But then the trick that I found, you can use the power of recognizing the full bouquet of humanity to your effect. And they often give you just a text option in case you can't hear or see video. So you don't want to always choose the text option, because text is faster. And you can kind of just go through that. And then also, if you've taken this test enough, you're going to pass it.
Now, do you guys have this one? I recently did the security training at my current place. I love it. It gives you the option to take the 30-question quiz. If you take and you get them all right.
Oh, that's good.
You're exempted, right? And it is an
placing out of an hour of yeah.
It does. It feels like the AP or they take the credit by exam. You're like, oh yeah, all right, I got to focus. Like, it's about the highest stakes thing at work every year. It's like, hold on, I got a chance to get probably 3 hours of my life back. Let's go. Let's dial it in. Let's not be tripped up by any of these. Because, a lot of this stuff is like the social engineering stuff. I'm always like,
yeah.
I know what you want the answer to be, but I think the answer could be different. So you can't overthink it, right? You got to be thinking like, this is what's going on. So nice. I highly recommend. I wish they would do that for the code of conduct as well. It's like, because then you're I feel super motivated when it's like, bring that exam on. Let me see if I can do it. So.
It was actually, I'm remembering, I did have a moment of gratitude for the probably, it wouldn't be 2 decades, but probably over 15 years of taking stuff like this. Well, I eventually it'll come out probably next month, but I did a little video course with O'Reilly. And the way they do them now is you have to write like little quiz questions. Once people watch this video, they realize the ridiculous awesomeness, where you can watch my videos about how to work in a big company and you can get a certificate afterwards.
Nice.
If you pass the test. It'll be great. Anyways, but I did, as I was writing these questions, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm prepared to write these questions. I am now an expert on taking, silly kind of tests about things. And it really did inform my ability to write questions, because, when you write these things, I think what I've learned is, basically, you're going to have a multiple choice, pick all that apply situation. And it's always going to be 3-1, right? Like, it's either 1 is correct and 3 are wrong, or 3 are correct and 1 is wrong. And so it just made it pretty easy. And you can just alternate through those, and it's pretty good. But it was a fun experience. So next time you take those things, just figure out that it's like training for the next time you're going to be asking questions. That would be a great way to go over a weekly status report thing too, in the style of like a compliance and security video, where you have some little scenes and then you'll have quizzes that people take at the end.
Oh my gosh!
To see if they're certified to understand the status.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I mentioned the IRS. Now, we had some speculation last week, and Brandon brought this up. I shouldn't say we. You brought up the point that the IRS has all of the information, which is probably something, given the state of like, get off my landism in America. The IRS probably trains themselves never to say. No government agency ever wants to be like, hey, how's it going? We have all your information. And, in fact, I was in Zurich just yesterday, and one of my coworkers there was showing me that the app they have for the public transit, it's an app. I already said that. But what you do is you set it all up, and then when you get on the train, you just slide a little bar to say you're on the train. And then when you get off the train, you slide the bar back. And like he was saying that, like, if you get caught, which doesn't have, it's very lax as far as I can tell there in
Right.
Zurich. And he was saying that one time he got caught, and the guy was, I guess this is very Swiss. He was like, "Oh, you're 10 seconds late," and he of course was just like, you know.
Wait, but what was he getting let off, or was he being punished?
No, like, you know, someone was on the tram actually going to check people. You know, every now and then you send your checkers in to actually like look at tickets and check on people. But he was also saying, I don't know if he was unsure about this or if it actually happened, but that like also, you know, it can track when you're on the tram or not, which he was saying like, oh, I guess that could be bad. And I was like, ooh, in America that wouldn't fly. Like
No,
that
we
would be
not down with that.
Anyways, speaking of things that wouldn't fly, just having the IRS preload the data they already have apparently into the application they're having, I guess that doesn't happen either, which just seems like,
yeah, no, this is what made
unfortunate.
me extremely sad. You know, we talked about like finally the IRS would just do the taxes for you. But here's the quick quote. It's quote, the thing that would be most valuable to almost all taxpayers would be if they didn't have to keep tracking their W-2s or 1099. So those are the forms you get with all your income. Bankman told the Washington Post, but the direct file doesn't do that. He pointed out, if all you're doing is giving people an alternative to TurboTax, a lot of people are going to say, I'll stick with TurboTax. So this is like such a sad moment. You know, we've had some great digital transformation in the US government, but like everything about computer science, about digital transformation, it's like, no, the thing that people want is the thing that you're not doing. So I was thinking, and now the reason is there's a lot of politics behind this. I was like, I wonder, remember we talked about there was someone in Japan who was getting rid of the floppy disk. It was like, seemed like he just was going to do it no matter what. I was wondering, could we get him to come over and run this program and be like, no, like all he'd have to do is people come to him and is like, we're not going to be able to preload the data. He'd be like, nope, that's not what we want. That's not right. Go back. And then they keep coming back. And you just have someone that's like, nope, we are not finishing until we do that. I just feel like I don't know who the person would be. Like you could just be like it's almost like you need like a tax dictator, right? Be like, nope, this is the only way we do it. But it's never going to happen. So it makes me extremely sad that I don't know how long they've been talking about doing this since the 80s. So maybe 40-ish years.
I guess that kind of answers my question. I mean, I guess if it has been that long, it's not so much a technical problem. It is more of a political problem.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I could see they would be like, I don't know, this is in your tax records are in like ANSI 92, not Unicode 05 or something. And like every time we try to merge it over, we just get those little square boxes all the time. But
all we get is wingdings when it comes over.
Oh
yeah. But that is too
still
bad.
sad. I just think someone, I don't know. And also I feel like I've been in like a socialist mood this week. So in my neighborhood, they're laying Google Fiber. It's like slowly coming out. This is roughly 15 years after it was announced that it was coming. So I've been watching them like just do it. And I'm like, wow, it's actually not that complicated, right? They have this, like, they basically do this simple thing where between the asphalt and the curb, they just drilled this like kind of like, you know, if you will, conduit, and they're putting it in. And I'm just like, you know, we should have just started this 15 years ago. Like someone should have just been like, we're just going to do it. So that's my recommendation to everyone. If your neighborhood isn't getting fiber, you should just start now. Like we should just start now.
Oh,
I don't know exactly how. It's like, it's like, no, because now that I see what they're doing, I'm like, I thought before it's like, wow, this is going to be so complicated. Yeah. It's going to take millions of dollars. I'm like, no, this is like 10 people. We should just start now. Everyone start laying the fiber now.
Did you not just hear the transition you made from, I don't understand why the IRS can't do everyone's taxes. And then you're like, I guess it was politics. And then you're like, I don't understand why communities don't have their own community broadband. It's because of, I don't know. It's because of politics. It's because
we're just hurting
people
ourselves.
Have rolled out community fiber, community high speed, you know, community wireless, and literally Spectrum, Time Warner, whoever they are, have gone and told like your politicians that people can't be trusted to run this sort of infrastructure.
I think we might have found I think probably worldwide, but I'm going to say in the United States for sure, the only uniting political idea for all factions. We all want faster internet. Right? Like you're not going to encounter anyone. Wait, to put it in the negative, who if you even if you did some push polling and you were like, hi, do you find that slower internet is acceptable? Press 1 if yes. Like I think everyone would say no. they want faster internet. And so that
Well, I'm
maybe
just
we
saying,
could rally behind
But-
that. I don't know if the two parties are
with you.
listening.
I'm with you.
One of them.
But now that I've seen the crew doing it, I really was like, I think I could get a crew of 10 people on the neighborhood and we could just keep going. Like when these guys gotta get off, like just leave us
Fiber
the equipment.
co-op.
Just leave us the equipment and like one person to like show us. Like we'll get one person on that, like the digger thing, and then it looks like the rest of us we're just laying down the
probably
fiber.
already
Like, I think we can do
illegal
it.
in Texas.
And then I was like, oh, and at the end you just like loop it
Yeah,
and you put
yeah.
it on the
No,
phone.
it is that
Yeah.
simple.
Now, okay. Now this is
Somebody can loop it. I was like, I think we can do this.
here's what we need to do. Here's what we
need.
need to do, Brandon. We need to set up Fiber Watch, Austin versus Dalvin Direct, because as you remember, I think probably maybe even over a year ago, I talked about how the cobblestone here is great, and then it's sand under, because in a day you can just pick up the cobblestone, lay down some fiber, and like put it back on. And so it's been at least a year, and there are at least 2 color fiber loops on every person's doorstep. Now, are those fiber loops connected to anything? No.
Right.
Like,
no.
Now, I don't know if I can order like some Raspberry Pi sort of thing and like hotwire it to this to get my internet going. But that would be cool. There's probably a router or something at the end of the street that I need to do something with. But we should start running the clock and see if you get the fiber turned on sooner than I did, because then that might be a capitalism victory. Even though it took a capitalism longer, this many years to get fiber to the house, it might take socialism longer to actually turn it on.
Yeah, so it's like really the question is, you've got fiber to the curb faster.
I mean, I've got it right by my front door, just this little loop.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of what I see. So I see it on the curb. Like now, getting it from the curb to the house, again, doesn't look complicated. But I was like, I wonder if this is going to take.
And
years. Like that was
to be fair, from my side of the Atlantic, one day the KPN, which is the Bell telephone equivalent of the Netherlands. I mean, there's as in the oldest. The 2 KPN guys did come, and they were going to take the teal blue wire. I've got the T-Mobile one, which renamed themselves something stupid. The T-Mobile orange one at the end of the sidewalk, and the teal blue one is right by the door. And they open up the door and they lifted up my little there's whatever blah 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 Dutch house. They looked at the thing and they were like, we don't know how to bring it in here, except they were nice about it. And at the time, I had basically given up on this fiber ever being turned on, so I was just kind of like, cool. Like, but now that I'm going through it, I should have just been like, just run it under the door. Like, yeah, you want me to drill a hole? I can do that. I don't need nothing fancy. Like, if it breaks, can't you just like duct tape this shit together with a match or something? Like, but nope.
All right, well, keep me posted. I will keep you posted as well on the progress we make here in Austin.
All right. Well, all sorts of other things that you could check out if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/455. I want to call out that the Clue Train Manifesto is 25 years old. It's fun to go reread the 95 theses and the book. I didn't reread all of them, but you can find a link to that if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/455. Do we have any bureaucracy this episode, Brandon?
Well, one thing, if you would like a sticker, just send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I'll be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. Also want to quickly acknowledge the thread. The thread, for those listening for the first time, is a Software Defined Talk Slack thread that was started many years ago by Matt Ray. It has taken on a life of its own. It's now over 11,000 messages. I think it's generally working still. I mean, there is sometimes people get kicked out, but we can get them back in. So congratulations to everyone that's participated in the thread. I look forward to another 11,000 messages coming. And that's right. And then finally, Brian Gracely, also a friend of the show, host of the Cloudcast. He also endorses the Chamberlain garage door opener. He says it's good to keep track of people coming in and out of your house. So there you go. I think we talked about it last week. So I'm going to say that's a good pick.
Well, there's several conferences coming up. There's Scale and DevOps Days LA. I'll be there March 14th and 17th. There's KubeCon in Paris, March 19th and 22nd. I'll be there as well. And you'll be there. And if you want to go, if you haven't registered and you want to go, you can get 20% off with the VMware code, which is, I like to read it every year. KCE U24 VMW BC 20. Oh, this year it's VMware Broadcom. That's exciting. So yeah, KubeCon EU 24 VMware Broadcom 20%.
Wow.
So I always recommend trying 21, 22, 25,
30.
Just 202, 201, 20 whatever works. Go.
They're gonna pay you to come to KubeCon.
There's also go 250. Also, I'm hosting an executive dinner, which means, if you're some fancy pants executive or director or something, on March 13th in Dallas, going over our Tanzu and spring stuff. But you should try to get invited to it. It'd be fun. We'll talk about security stuff. We'll see how that goes. And there's also DevOps Days Birmingham, but you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/455 to find all that stuff. And with that, Matt Ray, what do you have to recommend this episode?
My recommendation this week is there's a zine/newsletter put out by Julia Evans. She just kind of plumbs the depths of various Unix and Linux things. And this week's or last week's issue was popular Git config options, which I'm sure all of our listeners are big into version control. And there are a bunch of nice little tips and tricks in there that I hadn't been using. So update your Git config.
Wow, that seems right up your alley.
Yes, it was. That's
I
my
bet
pick.
that. I feel like if there was a weekly podcast about that, it would be like 5 times more popular than even the Cloudcast. It would just be like, it would be like Dot Files Weekly, and it would just be highlights from the community. And it would be painful because there would be a part where you would just have to read the dot file.
Oh yeah, it'd be like, okay, now indent 3 spaces. Oh, I mean, wait, 2. Oh, is that a tab?
And there would be lots of debates about like $_ this, all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be great. You could start it up, Matt Ray.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, it'd be good. Like I think Get Config Weekly would be a great podcast because, like, one, no one ever really understands it. It would be endless amount of topics. It's like it is the ultimate.
Oh, I know. And you'd be like, you remember in episode 127 when I said you need to put it here? Well, actually, if you put it in this directory, it now works globally.
And
I maintain no. There's not one person in the world that understands.
And I think what we could do is we could hire Mr. XML himself, Tim Bray, to be the Andy Rooney at the end.
Oh my gosh.
He could give some commentary about small talk and formats, things like that.
It's got to be someone that's come out with an alternative to Git and just is like, I hate it.
Well, there are.
They could always. I mean, they could give you at the end of the episode. You could have them on every week and explaining why you should not use Git.
Yeah, so. every week we cut to our friend from Perforce who's like, "You kids."
Yeah.
Every week I can come on and be like, I don't know what's wrong with source safe. I mean, it's fine with me, guys. I don't know why everyone had to get away from that, but all your like, multi branches that nobody understands. Yep. Here we are now. Nobody knows what's going on.
Well, coming in hot from the source safe community, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this episode?
I want to recommend. I'm not sure if I said this before, so apologize. This is a duplicate. I saw Fair Play on Netflix a while back. I thought it was good. It was kind of a good psychological thriller. It's sort of like a little finance kind of. Bad boss kind of stuff going in it, but it was fun. And if you will, like the measure of any good movie is I don't go to the second screen. I actually had my phone down most of the movie and watched it, which has now become, I feel like that should become the movie review. How many times are you looking at your phone during the movie? So this one was very little. So I give it a thumbs up.
I think that is a good, I try to force myself not to pay attention to that, to the, when I want to have some quality.
Do you put your phone in a different room when you're watching?
No, because I think I do a pretty good job balancing the I had to unsubscribe. I used to subscribe in my RSS feeds to the Guardian tech thing or whatever, the tech columns, but I had to unsubscribe because every fucking week there's some article about I gave up my phone for a month. Here's what's happened, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then the Atlantic has to run one of those every year too, which is just 1 year it's a nothing bad happened, and the other year it's I achieved fucking enlightening and pies shot out of my eyes or some shit like that, and just sick of that. So
that's a good rant. Good rant.
I feel like I can control myself, and I can, and it's totally fine. So sometimes I'm like, is this podcast at 9 or 10 tonight? And if I didn't have my phone, I'd be like, I don't know. We'll see if Brandon figures out my my hard line, my wired phone, and calls me, and I hear a ring-a-ling-ding on the kitchen phone, and I'll take that long curly corded thing and drag it in and be like, hey, what's going on the blower here?
In the army green, the
Wow.
army green phone
Yeah.
with the long
Yep.
cord. I love it.
Yep.
Yes. Straight
Find
from
my
the
princess
70s.
phone and plug it in. Anyhow, well, my recommendation is I as I mentioned, I went to Zurich, so I got to use this. Now that I have the iPhone 15 Pro Max Big Boy or whatever, like I'm in the USB-C world. I potentially, except for my AirPods, and I think it made me realize. I think part of the VP of Cable's pitch about USB-C several years ago was like, now there's a couple of dinglings out there, and when I say a couple, I mean a not insignificant amount, who are just going to go buy some new AirPods Pro just to get a USB-C
Yep.
cable. And let me tell you
Yep.
what, those dinglings, those are my people. And so like, I haven't done that yet.
Bought my boat.
That's right. What's on the back of my boat? Dingling. Anyways, well, we could really.
Fun fact, okay, before you finish, fun fact, the AirPods business brings in $15 billion a year.
Yeah.
That's a
There you
lot of
go.
boats.
So yeah, when you say not insignificant people, I've had this thought. I think many people have had. It's like, at what point are you just like, I have perfectly good things that use Lightning. I just gotta get rid of it. I gotta pull the hard upgrade. I don't know. I think a lot of people.
I mean, I feel like, to Matt Ray's point, the USS Dingling comes out of that 15 billion somewhere. That's so. Other than that, I've got all the USB-C for everything. So I went and purchased this very small, well, compared to whatever, it's the Anchor USB-C charger Pod 3 port. I'm not going to read the full Amazon thing in a comical way, but it's great. It's bigger. I of course have the EU version, but it's like bigger than small, which makes me think of that log song. And it's pretty heavy, but you can actually stick it in your pocket, and it has two USB-C things and one USB not C, whatever. Yeah.
It's USB-A and two USB-C. It's fantastic. I recommend.
And it'll power up your laptop with whichever this version is. I sound like a dingling, but
as long as you got like a MacBook Air or like MacBook, the smaller ones, you don't need the 100
you're all
watt.
set.
I'm with you.
And
Love
it's good stuff.
Yeah,
Now so that's what I recommend. Get that Anchor thing. It works. The only thing I think I need now is either to help fund Dingling 2, or I need like a wireless charging thing that I can bring, because the AirPods will charge on that. But I'll see. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we had no ads this episode, so there will be no dinglings purchased for any of us. Nautical. I'll stop saying that.
Or
phrase.
otherwise.
Yeah. Only dinglings of the mind is what we have going, because we enjoy that you've listened this far and you've helped tell your friends about it. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, the audience. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Dinglings of the mind.
I like the end. I don't know if Coach run out of steam or like, I'm just gonna like always at the end. They're like, man, I'm gonna pull some weird analogies here, some weird comparisons, and it's always good.
I gotta go.
Way to wrap.
Dinglings of the mind.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Wow. Time to go talk to some other people. Bye.
Enjoy. Bye.
Bye, Matt. All right, Cote, we gotta do a quick after show. What exciting thing?
Man.
Maybe we should pick up on like your quick. What I was gonna say, like you had a good rant there. Like, let me ask you this question.
What was it about the AirPods? I forget.
No, I was gonna ask this question. Is like, has the article about I given up my iPhone or any mobile? I gave up my mobile phone because it's like the Ezra Klein. Like I feel like Ezra Klein writes this a lot. He's like obsessed with like talking about not using technology, but using technology, but then talking about it on a podcast, right? So is it just virtue singling? Like it's just sort of like that level, or are people really like? Are they really trying to provide us some new information?
I think.
And your dog has a lot of opinions.
Yeah. She's grounded from her iPhone. She can't control herself. I mean, I think, well, instead of every time I see that article, the first thing I think is that like, well, writers need some shit to write about. Like it is a perennial topic. And I think like every now and then, well, obviously, if you're the editors who are calling up, who are assigning these stories over and over again, like you have some interest in it. I mean, it's just a I don't even think it's like virtue signaling. It's like clickbait. There's another word than clickbait for this. It's sort of just like comforting affirmation, psychological affirmation for people to be like, oh yeah, people use their phones so much. I can't really express it, but yeah, my main thought is always just like, yeah, they just need some shit to write about, because the story is always the same, because there's really nothing to learn. It's just like, you know, it would you could pick some other thing. Like, what's something else people use too much? Like, I went a month without wearing socks, and let me tell you how that went, right?
Right. Or like, no, like food sometimes. Like people are like, I didn't eat sugar.
Yeah, or I gave up
caffeine,
alcohol or all this stuff, and
alcohol, dry January. Like that's always a comment. Like that's always written about every year. And it's like, I don't know, it's just interesting. Like why, I don't know. Sometimes I'm always just wondering what is the motivation of those
yeah.
pieces. I don't know. I don't know. At some point,
I think that there's also a combination of like, you know, I'm always referencing this. I think I even did in this episode where like every hour someone's born who hasn't seen the Flintstones yet, right? Or who doesn't know what Power Rangers is. So like there probably are many people who are just like, whoa, give up your phone. I don't know why they're like Pauly Shore people.
Okay, so that's a good point. Maybe people just like they have their own enlightenment.
Yeah. But it really is just like, I mean, that kind of stuff is just for ding-a-ling.
All right, well, I just want because since you're a writer to some degree, depending on how you want to count it, it's like I always wonder if it's just this, like it's like thinking fast, thinking slow, and cell phone kind of stuff. It's like because writing, especially if you're like a journalist or a writer, it is a task that requires like long periods of focused attention, right? That group of people, it's more difficult for them. Whereas, like, I don't know, like, it's like I have obviously, we all have things we have to do and concentrate for a while, but it's also like I sort of deal in a world of interrupts. Like, I expect people to email me and chat with me. I need to get questions back. So I'm not really, it's not like, oh, I didn't, but at the end of the night, I'm not like, oh, I didn't write my.
No, that's interesting.
Pressure.
I think, well, I don't
So
know if this is true, but well, so I'll keep talking. But to speculate, I think there's at least two things there. One, exactly what you're saying is that if you are especially a writer, but a creative creating things, you do need, I'm repeating what you said, long spans of uninterrupted time. But then the other thing you need is like, I don't know what the word for this is, but you need like your creative brain space. Like, there's this thing in all the like airport habit, behavioral, make your life better literature about like finding the time of day where you're most productive and focused in the zone or flow, right? And like, if you're a creative person, there's a difference between I'm focusing on writing and that energy that you have throughout the day. Because it's pretty inexplicable that like sometimes you'll just be like, oh, I got it. And then you got to like write it down, right? And the thing is like that energy can be consumed by other things, like your job, your family, like whatever, like that can be good or bad. It can be consumed by watching a delightful movie. So you've got this kind of like creative ether running around in your head on a daily basis. And then also like staring at your phone will consume this creative ether, right? So like there is something to like maybe people who are writing this kind of stuff, they're very aware. They have a much more detrimental effect of like old looking at their phone all the time, right? Because they directly can see how it's like sucking out that creative ether that they have, which is not cool if you're a writer. And then I also think it's just like you gotta have some shit to write about. Like that's the problem.
Well, I do think though, but you hit on another thing. I do think sometimes like I think of John Dickerson about this, like one of the hosts of the Gab Fest. It's like there's many people, and Ezra Klein is like that too. Like they're sort of like obsessed about talking about the process of creating stuff. I always think to myself, like when they're talking about that, it's like, you guys, both of them should do. It's just like you should just go work on the creative thing you want to work on.
Yeah.
Like don't podcast about like, oh, I got this great way to take notes, or oh, like I've discovered a way. I work early in the morning. It's like no, just like you go do that. Just go do that, and then you don't need to tell us about it. Because actually, I'm more interested in like I want to hear what John's. I want to hear his opinions about politics. I want to hear Ezra Klein's opinions about other stuff. It's
yeah.
I don't know, the phone stuff. It's like Matt Iglesias always seems to like. He seems to be like the antithesis of this. Like, he's like, I'm online a lot. I like it. and he just writes a lot. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know,
No,
just-
no. You know, one of my other what people I listen to a lot, and I'm curious about the old Tyler Cowen. He's also like that. Like, I listen to the Rick Rubin podcast a lot, and he has a similar take on things in a very different way. But like Tyler Cowen, his position on all this is like, I'm always working. he's like every day I don't ever work. Like, and you can see how this is the other thing about like a creative writer type is like at some point you realize that all aspects of your life is your material, right? Is potentially
Mhm.
something you'll be doing something about, which I think goes to the other thing with like what you're just saying is like, I mean, I can see that it is uh annoying to hear the writer people, creative people talk about how they do the creating. But one, it's sort of just like, you know, people talk about what they like.
right. What they're
Right.
interested in.
And
Sure.
then also like I always enjoy it because I do want to know like what they do. And so I feel like it's almost the same in I think the difference is that uh, fans of the process of writing observe following writing as a sport isn't as big of a market as following sports as a sport. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And so like, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the sport world who are like, yeah, how'd you throw that ball? Right. Like, how do you do
Right.
the thing? And you know,
Yeah. It's like the behind the scenes, what
right,
you're
right,
saying.
right.
There's always a
And so
market
like I
behind
just
the
think
scenes.
that's a much smaller set of people who are interested in that. But it is fun to see the as Tyler Cowen calls it, the production function, how people do
I was gonna
things.
say production. I always think, well, maybe we'll leave it there. I always think Tyler Function. That should be his name, Tyler Cohen. Like his production function seems like
Yeah.
maybe the highest ever. Like the ability to consume text and then write stuff. Like I don't know. He seems like he's got to be like top 1% of the 1%.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
they you know, the world's gotta, for whoever's listening to this, they gotta stop writing that I gave up my phone. Like I probably the Onion has already done this, but the Onion just needs to write, you know, I gave up my fax machine for a month and just in this shit.
And so they talk about how.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're still watching us, maybe you're watching on your phone, and we congratulate you because it's fine. You can control yourself. You've watched this long, and you know you've had fun with your phone. And so we hope to be back next week. We may likely be back on a Thursday. So set your calendars, and we always appreciate you watching the stream. We'll talk to you
Bye.
later.